Hi, welcome to our podcast, This Fancy Knit. I'm Jessica.
And I'm Rachel.
And this is our space where we like to talk about all the things that we've been knitting in the past couple of weeks.
It's been about 3 weeks since we sat down last time, so I feel like we've both gotten quite a bit done. So we have things to share.
We'll start with what we're wearing, and we are both actually wearing pieces that we have finished within the past couple of weeks. So I'll start with what I'm wearing. This is the Rosie sweater by Lene, and I use Knitting for Olive Merino held together with their Soft Silk Mohair. And the main color is Oatmeal, and then the contrast color is Bordeaux. And I feel like this is a piece that I have been working on since the dawn of time. It's really not that bad, but I just feel like this piece took way longer than I thought it was going to. Mostly because it was just one of those pieces that was definitely a product knit and not a process knit. And I really did not enjoy the process of knitting this actually. Mostly because this color work was just not very intuitive. It was very hard to kind of keep track of where I was in the pattern. There were a ton of long floats. I felt like I was constantly having to look at the chart, and especially on the yoke before you separate for the sleeves versus the body. There's multiple charts that you have to follow. So there's a separate chart for the front, the sleeves, and the back. And so working 3 different charts in one row just felt super tedious. It did get better once you separate the sleeves from the body. And so this bottom row and then the sleeve second one, second little row right here felt like it went a lot easier. But yeah, it was just one that I felt like I had to really force myself to work on and make progress on. And it wasn't one that I just was constantly looking forward to picking up and making progress on it. That being said, I do think it's a really cute sweater. I am very happy with how it turned out. I was kind of nervous that I wouldn't like the collar, and I'm still not 100% sure that it's my favorite collar in the world, but I do think I like it. I'm
I
going to
like
leave it the way it is for now, and if it's one of those things that starts to bother me, I think I can always just fold it over and sew it down, so I'm not too worried about it. But it is kind of different than what a lot of the sweaters that I make look like.
It's very much like a funnel neck, not quite a turtleneck, but it is a high dramatic collar.
Yeah, and I feel like I don't usually gravitate towards sweaters like that, and this one's cute. I'll talk about the construction just a little bit. We've mentioned it on a couple of other podcasts, so I don't want to be too repetitive, but I did really like that this was a contiguous construction. So you cast on in the back and knit a little bit down after doing some short row shaping. And then you knit a little bit of the front, and then you end up picking up your stitches along the sleeve in order to start working what feels like a raglan, where you start doing increases along this kind of what's usually a raglan seam, but in this case it looks more like a drop shoulder. And I really like that she did that because it does allow you to do the color work in the round. I feel like I compare this sweater a lot to the porcelain sweater by the same designer, which has a very similar look where it's these striped color work motifs. Except in that one, you do have to work at least the front and the back, the first big stripe, you have to work that flat. And so I liked that she figured out how to do a construction where you could work the color work stripes in the round without having to do that. So I think that was really genius of her to do. That being said, it was still kind of a pain. So I would not knit this one again, but I am glad that I finished it, and I think it turned out really pretty.
I'm glad you finished yours too.
Are you going to finish yours?
So since the last podcast, I don't think I've touched it one time. I've not frogged it, but I'm really thinking about it because I just really hate working on it. And I don't feel like my color work looks quite as clean as yours. And if I'm honest, I love yours. I think it turned out beautiful, but am I so inspired that I'm willing to work through it? I think that this is a neutral enough color. I can find something else to do with it. And I love this color with it. So maybe I could do a different color work, or if nothing else, I can buy some other colors. I don't know. I'm not God's strongest soldier, I can't. I can't get into it. It's just not fun to work on. And I've got stuff that is inspiring me, and yeah, I don't know. I might frog it. So yeah, maybe you could finish it for me.
No. I was or I am, because I haven't done anything with it. I'm partway through the second band on the body, but I haven't At this point, you're through like the hardest parts, though. Like you
Yeah.
could just.
I could, but also, I don't know. I really do like yours, so I don't know. We'll probably let it sit for a while longer and decide if we're gonna frog later. But right now, I'm not inspired. I'm not excited to work on it, which is hard. I'll talk about what I'm wearing next, which is also my only finished object this time around, but I'm really happy I got it done. This is my Matcha jumper by Vertknit, and I knit it in 96 yarns, baby alpaca DK in the color charcoal. And I held it with Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair in the color dark moose. So I'll hold these up together. This one is left over because I don't have one that doesn't have a label, but for the baby alpaca DK, I have almost 2 skeins left over because I went into one, but then I have this one that's completely full, so, or not touched. The baby alpaca DK was very kindly gifted to us from 96 Yarns. The dyer behind it, Chloe, was super kind and reached out to us about a sweater quantity each. So this is what I was able to make with this. And I do have enough left over. I'm wondering, I need to look at some patterns, but I'm wondering if I'm gonna have enough for like a hat or something like that.
I think you would.
I think so too. I kind of liked holding it with a mohair, but I also have decided that I don't think mohair is for me for hats. So I'm wondering if I can find like an alpaca suri or something, or I can just go without, but I do like the look of a fluffy hat. I just don't like the itch that I get. So this will be used up for something at some point, I think. I really, really like this yarn and I like the color a lot. So as far as the construction of this sweater, it kind of surprised me. It's one that I hadn't really seen before. You cast on for the back stitches and do quite a few rapid increases where you get almost the look of a saddle shoulder, but it's not knit the way a saddle shoulder normally is. It has the look of it, and you have increases throughout to where you eventually get to a point, it kind of starts feeling a little bit more like a raglan, but it has a little bit of a look like almost between a saddle shoulder and a drop shoulder. It's very interesting. It's one that I hadn't seen before, and it is easy, but you have to follow the pattern. It wasn't like a raglan where you're like, oh, I know exactly what I'm doing every single time.
It was one where I had to, because I've knit this sweater before too, I had to like write out all of the rows on a piece of paper and then like cross them off as I did them in order to keep track of like where I was in the pattern.
Yeah, because it's not super consistent. Like once you do one, you're like, oh, I'm doing the same thing for this many rows. You really do have to pay attention to the pattern. But I think the fit of it turned out really beautiful, and I definitely think it was worth it. It is easy. You just have to, be mindful of it, and have, I had the rows in front of me so that way I could like check them off and everything. It also has a lot of twisted rib. The sleeves have quite a bit of twisted rib. The hem, I think I actually shortened a little bit, but I've got probably 3 inches of twisted rib, which took a very long time. I don't mind twisted rib a lot, but it does take a long time and can kind of just get a little bit like sore on my hands if I go too long. So I feel like I had to take some breaks there, but I do like the way that it looks. And the collar is twisted rib as well. So I think last time I showed this, it didn't have a collar and I was like, oh, it does not look very good. But hopefully better representation of it now.
I'll talk about the other sweater that I finished since we last met, and that is the Amy sweater by PetiteKnit. And I also used yarn that was really kindly gifted by Chloe from 96 Yarns, except instead of the alpaca DK, I used the natural DK in the colorway Cranberry. So I'll hold it up so hopefully you can see the color a little bit better and how thick and beautiful this collar is. I'm just obsessed with this like turtleneck collar.
It looks really good.
It's so cute. For some reason, like this funnel neck, I'm still getting used to, but I thought the way that this turtleneck like folded over was really pretty. And I like that there's these details where it like rolls up a little bit because you do a couple of rows of stockinette before you cast off. And I just think it looks really, really cute. I really like it. Honestly, the pattern was super easy to follow. You do cast on in the back and then you work back and forth doing increases for a little bit until you eventually meet in the beginning and then, or in the front, and cast on stitches using like a backward loops cast on here. And then later you go back and you pick up and knit the neckline, and the neckline's fairly long, but worth it. And other than that, it's honestly kind of just a basic raglan. It was very easy to follow. You just continue doing increases on the body and the sleeve until the pattern tells you to separate for the sleeves and the body, and then knit straight down. There were no like shaping or anything like that. And then the bottom is just the same as the collar, where it's this 2x2 rib with a couple of rows of stockinette to get it to curl up.
I like the little curling look. I think that's so cute.
I know, I really like it. It's simple, but it was really nice to just have like a simple basic go-to project that I could just pick up, do a few rows at a time, put it down, not have to think about it too much. And it's one that I've already worn several times since I finished it because it's just so easy to throw on, and I just think it's so cute. And I don't really have a lot of things in my wardrobe that are this color. I feel like you've been knitting a lot with this color.
I really have been liking this color.
And I didn't have as many things, so yeah, it's been really cute. I really like it. I did alternate skeins just because it was a hand-dyed yarn. So there's a few spots where you might be able to tell, but honestly, you have to really look for them. I feel like the yarn does a really good job of blending together from one skein to the next. So didn't run into any issues there, which was super nice.
I actually did not alternate skeins on mine. I think I did for one part, and then I decided that I really couldn't tell and I gave up. But I also think the mohair probably evens out any inconsistencies that might be there, maybe.
Yeah.
Or there just might not be a lot of inconsistencies. I don't see any.
I don't see any on yours.
So I don't see any on yours either, though.
Yeah, and I just held it single. I didn't have like a mohair or anything with it. It's so soft.
Yeah, this is really nice. I also think in general, sometimes these kind of basics, like I think this one's a little bit more like basic, and yeah, they're not maybe as exciting to knit sometimes, but I feel like I wear them so much that it's very easily justifiable. I think that puts us into works in progress, and this is one that has made an appearance on the podcast before. It's been a journey, but I have on my needles Cardigan number 9 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, and I'm knitting it in Noro Madara in the color sake, which is, I feel like, a very popular trendy yarn, and I'm holding it with Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair in the color Marzipan. This yarn I got back in, I think, late 2024, and I really, really wanted to knit cardigan number 8 with it. I knit it probably about to where I am now, honestly. I think maybe I'm a little bit farther now, but it was about like very comparable to where I am now. And then I decided that I actually wanted it to be a crew neck cardigan, and I frogged it completely, redid a different cardigan to about here as well, maybe even a little bit farther. I was knitting the Traveler's cardigan by Ozetta, realized that my gauge was too big, frogged it, let the yarn sit for a long time, and now I'm back to cardigan number 8 because, first of all, I had wanted to knit that cardigan forever. I was still thinking about it. I was like, why did I frog it? And also that in looking back, my gauge is perfect for this cardigan, and so it was really like a no-brainer, I guess, but it was a little bit like, oh man, I'm re-knitting something that I've already knit and frogged, and I could have probably been done by now, but instead I'm remaking it. But that's okay. I have really wanted to get this yarn worked up. It was really exciting for me when I was able to get it because I feel like it's so popular that it was kind of hard to get like my hands on. Like it might be this way still. I feel like it's still pretty popular, but at the time especially, I felt like if you saw it online, it would sell out so fast and you couldn't find it in stores hardly. And so when I was able to get it, I was just like, oh, this is amazing. And now here we are in 2026 and I'm still working with it, but I'll be very excited to have the finished product. As far as the construction of the garment, you cast on at the back and work quite a few increases to create the shoulders. And then you knit down to about where the arm or underarm would end. Then you put it on hold and pick up stitches for the front with some increases for the V-shaping. and then you connect them both in the round, which is where I'm at now, and work the body.
Wait, not in the round, flat.
Or, yeah,
but you
flat.
connect the front and the back, so you work flat back and forth.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes.
If it was in the round, you'd have to steek it, and I don't think you...
No, I'm not going to steek it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. But it's all in one piece. So at this point, I'm really just working stockinette back and forth. And then I'll have to go back and pick up the button band next. And then after that, I'll do sleeves. I always like to do the button band on cardigans because it really tells you like how it's going to fit. So you know if the sleeves are going to be the right length. Even though I'm not super excited to work this button band because it's a double knit, which always takes me a long time.
It must take longer than you think they're going
yeah,
to.
I feel like the button band is going to take quite a while, but it'll be worth it. I'm really excited to have this. I don't have buttons for it either yet, so that's something I'm going to have to acquire at some point. I'll share a little bit about this yarn because in addition to just being excited to have it, I have kind of lovingly duped this in my mind as like my art cardigan. And I've shared on the podcast before that I'm an art teacher. And so everything that I have, I feel like it's like little paint speckles on it.
Didn't you even get a speckle on this matcha jumper?
Oh my gosh,
already?
I wore it one time. I don't know if it's going to show because it's really tiny, but there's like a little red flick somewhere in here. I was like, wait, my first time wearing this. Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah, it's right there at the very edge, like right on the tubular cast off.
Like, oh.
Or bind off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this yarn has little color flecks all throughout it. So I'm super excited to have it because if it gets little flecks on it, you're not going to see it. And so I'm excited to get to wear this to work. And I'm like, it's my art cardigan. But I had shared that before and I got a couple comments. I don't think like ill-intended, but just like, oh, wow, that's a really expensive cardigan for you to like get flecks of paint on. And so it just kind of got me reflecting on like, I don't know, thinking about the purpose of clothing. And I think that if I was to live a life of, oh, I can't wear this because I'll get paint on it, I would not get to wear a lot of stuff. And so, yeah, I just thought like, I think it's okay. I'm not spilling stuff on it. I'm not like getting a ton of stuff, but it just kind of is like reflective of what my life is and things that I enjoy in life. And we had somebody leave a really, really sweet comment quite a while ago, probably around this time last year, that I just thought I'd share because I thought it was so sweet. So the comment somebody left when I was talking about this yarn at one point was, I had an art teacher explain the beauty of worn clothing and it stuck with me. The worn inside of a pocket from where Grandpa kept his change. The sun-faded yellow on Dad's baseball cap because he always wore that hat when he mowed the lawn. Our clothes tell the story of our lives. Your clothes have tiny flecks of paint on them because your life is colorful and you teach kids how to create art. That's beautiful. Signs of wear are not defects. They are evidence of a well-loved knit. And I just really liked that. I thought it was really a beautiful statement and sentiment about how our clothes really do affect our life and how they can hold meaning and share the stories of us, and especially as knitters and people that make our clothing. I think that that's just such a nice thought of how our stories are carried throughout the things that we make. So I just wanted to share that because it really stayed with me and I appreciated that they left that comment.
I think one of the joys of knitting things is just like that, like they become part of your day to day. And I think that's kind of the joy of making clothes is like, it's art and it's utilitarian. And also I find that as I'm knitting, like different sweaters remind me of like what I was doing.
Oh yeah.
At that phase in my life. Like I look back at certain projects and I'm like, oh, I knit on that while I was traveling or while I was watching this one show that I really remember, or like different sweaters just start to connect to like different phases of my life. Or like I'll wear some sweaters and I'm like, oh, I remember I knit this back at the rental house we used to live in, or things like that. And it's fun that like they get to just like
be memories.
Yeah, be memories that you create new memories into. Like it's just always evolving.
So all of that is to say that I'm super excited to have this and to get to wear it to work and just have it be another part of, yeah, like our time capsule of what our knits mean to us, I guess. But I thought it was sweet. So many ends.
I know.
To
I was like, wait, I gotta tuck these in real quick. I technically have two works in progress going right now, but I'm only going to talk about one today because the other work in progress that I have going is a pair of socks. And I talked about them last time, and I honestly have not made enough progress that I feel like I have anything new to share about them. So I'll probably wait until those are a finished object and talk about them hopefully in our next episode. I'm hoping to finish them by then. But for today, I just have the one sweater. And so I'll talk about my Lakes Pullover by Ozetta. And
I love it.
I love this so much. I'm using yarn that was really kindly gifted by Hobbii. And so this is the Copenhagen Fibers brushed alpaca that they sent me a sweater quantities worth of. And it is so soft and so fun to work with. I'll see if I can hold up some of the yarn so you can see how fluffy it is. I was kind of nervous when I started working on it that it was going to be like a boucle yarn where your needles kind of get caught constantly, and it was going to be like one that you have to like tug at a little bit, but it's really not. It's been really smooth. It's been so soft. Like I really enjoyed working with this. I will say it has shed a little bit, so I'm finding little like tufts of black hair here and there on my couch where I've been mostly working on it, which doesn't really bother me. Like I'm okay with that, but I will be kind of curious to see how much it sheds once I'm actually wearing it. But one of my goals this year was to knit just a solid black sweater because I find that I wear solid black sweaters a lot, but I've never actually made one. I've got a couple that I've thrifted, one in particular that I just wear all the time, and it would be really nice to have one that I can reach for that I can be like, oh, I made this because I don't know.
That's the best.
That's the best. So it was just something that I wanted to do, and so this felt like a really good opportunity to try a new yarn and also cross something off of my list that I've been wanting to do for a long time. I have made the Lakes Pullover by Ozetta, and in fact, you've made it.
I made it too.
Yeah, so we have, well, I have a red version, and then you have like a butter yellow version that we really love. And I just really love the fit of that sweater. So whenever I gauge swatched, I found a couple of different sweaters that I was between, like a couple of different options that I was considering, one of them being the Lakes Pullover. And I took a poll of a couple of friends, and they all were like, no, just do another Lakes Pullover. So that's what I did. And it has just been flying off the needles. Because this yarn is black, it is kind of hard to see. So I'm going to hold it up and hopefully the lighting kind of picks up on it a little bit. The construction is that you start knitting these little rectangles that become the saddle shoulders, and you leave the end stitches live. So these will later become connected to the sleeves. And then you go to the back and you cast on, or you pick up stitches along both sides of the rectangle and then cast on stitches in between in order to get the full length of the back. And then you do a bunch of short row shaping. And then after you knit to the bottom of the underarm here, then you go back to the front and you pick up stitches along both of the fronts and do some short row shaping before connecting them in the middle, and then knitting to the same length as the underarm here. And then now at this point, I'm just working in the round. They've been connected. Oh, I forgot, you do some increases along the underarm, which makes for some really nice shaping. And then I think I'm only about an inch away from being able to start the ribbing. And one of the things that's kind of nice about this sweater is you don't have to change your needle size for the ribbing, only for the collar. So it makes it easy, you know, if I was like in the car or something, you don't have to remember a second set of needles or anything to start the next section. So I'm really looking forward to wearing it. I think it's going to be a piece that I just reach for all the time. I really love the texture that this yarn is creating. It's just been so fun to knit on. I will say, because it is black, sometimes at night it gets a little bit dicey to where I can't work on it, but for the most part, I really haven't run into too many issues with it. There's just been a couple of nights where I'm knitting a little bit later than usual and I have to put it down, but that's okay. It is what it is.
I love the black. I think it's going to be really pretty.
I know. I'm ready to pick up for the collar because I do think that it looks kind of naked without it.
Sweaters without collars just look, I don't want to say they look bad, but
yeah,
they're just not the same.
Well, and the Lakes Pullover too has such a thick collar that I feel like the
just
collar
looks really
hole
wide.
right now, I guess is what I'll call it. Yeah, it looks super wide. Like every time I look at it, I'm like, this doesn't look right. But I know we've made this sweater before. Like it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be great once you pick up. But yeah, right now it just looks like really wide.
Yeah. I'll go to my second work in progress, which is cardigan number 11 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. So I've got 2 cardigans by My Favorite Things Knitwear on the needles right now. And I'm knitting this in Hobbie's Copenhagen fibers in the natural wool base and the silk mohair. So this is another project that Hobbii super kindly gifted to us, and I'm very excited to get to work up. The colors that I'm working with are the color number 14 for the natural wool and color number 8 for the mohair, and they go together so well. I was so surprised that they aren't the same number, but I really feel like they were meant to be together, and I really like the way that they look together. So I'll show what the fabric is looking like so far. I don't have a ton done, but we've got a little bit. The construction is such that you cast on for the back and do increases, and then you don't knit a whole lot before you go and pick up and knit a panel and then some increases to shape the collar. And then you go back and pick up along the panel so that you're working like all in one piece. I don't want to say in the round because that's what I did last time. But and then you do the increases from this part. It's actually very similar to this construction, I would say. What
Like
is
the
that
contiguous?
called? Is it contiguous?
I think so.
Okay. I did think it was interesting that My Favorite Things Knitwear does not specify the construction before you buy the pattern. So I knew that I wanted to knit it, and I was going on Ravelry and her website and just kind of trying to figure out, like, is it a drop shoulder or raglan or whatever kind of construction, contiguous, I don't know. And so I was trying to figure out what it was, and I had to buy the pattern to really know, which is not a problem. I was going to make it regardless, and I didn't really care what construction it was, but I thought it was interesting because I was like, normally they're pretty good about saying what kind or how it's constructed before you go to buy the pattern, especially because I know that there's people with strong preferences. Like I know there's people that if it's a bottom-up construction, they don't want to do it. And so, yeah, I thought that was interesting, but that's how the pattern is constructed. And so hopefully that's helpful for anybody that's wanting to make this. I am really not too far, so I can't speak too much more to it, but I'm really, really liking how it's knitting up. It's on a pretty big gauge. I've got 17 stitches for 4 inches. So I'm actually using the same needles as my cardigan number 8, even though the gauges are a little bit different, but the yarns, I guess, were a big factor in that. And so I think I'm gonna have to wait till I finish the body of cardigan number 8 before I can go too much farther, just because it's getting a little like scrunched on the needles. So we'll get a little bit more done, but we'll probably have to go a little bit farther on the other one, or I'll have to buy new needles. I don't know, but I am really liking it. I think it's going to go pretty fast once I can give it some like full attention. I have one more work in progress, although I do have one part of it finished because it's a pair of socks and I have one of the socks done. So I'm currently test knitting the Flora socks for Laura from Sunday Morning Knits, and it's this really cute little pointelle pattern that she's got, and I'm starting on the second pair, or the second sock. So the pattern that she has, she does have a ruffle for the starting point, and I instead did a little bit of twisted rib, but that is mostly because I'm using the same yarn as another pair of socks that I finished last year that are also kind of that ribbed pattern and have some ruffles at the top. And I just thought, since I'm using the same yarn, that if I do the ruffle again, that they're gonna be really similar. And as much as I love this sock, I just kind of wanted something different. And somebody else had asked in the Discord if they could do a rib instead of the ruffle. And so once she had approved that, I was like, I'm just gonna do a rib instead. That way they're different. But other than that, the pattern has this little pointelle texture, and it's got a tiny bit of a ribbed feel because it's got variations of knitting and then purl in between. And they just knit up really fast. They're pretty simple.
You like flew through those. You like cast it on and got through the entire leg in one day. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was just really enjoying it. And I don't know, I feel like pointelle has been pretty trendy and I haven't hopped on it yet. Not because I don't like it, but just because I I don't know, had the time or yarn or the perfect alignment of this is exactly what I'm going to do right now. But as soon as I got going, I was just so inspired. I was like, I want to do more pointel stuff. And yeah, I just really, really enjoyed working on them. So I'm hopefully going to finish the other one just as fast. It's got a texture to the heel. I think this might be called a partridge heel. It's just worked with slip stitches, but it's a different texture than what I've done before as a heel, and I thought it was a really cute little detail to it. And something that I checked this morning, and I don't know if she's responded yet, but I think I'm gonna try to do is the pointel pieces. I don't know how to explain this very well, but see how it like ends here? I'm gonna try to flip it so that the other sock mirrors this. So for instance, like on the next one, they would be here and here. And yeah, I don't know if that's the best way to explain it, but I'm gonna try to mirror the pointel.
Because it ends in 6 like
Yeah.
rows, and so because it's an even number,
Yes.
you'll have it like staggered in the opposite way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's staggered in the opposite. That's a good way to explain that.
Yeah.
It's like, I hope this makes sense to her when I message.
Yeah.
So
That way when you have your toes together, like your little
yes, the little points will match up.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and that would be, I think, a very easy modification. So I'll wait till Laura responds and see how she feels about that. But I think that would be a really cute thing to do for these socks. Luckily, I'm not quite there yet because I'm still on the ribbing. So, but I think that that would be really,
I feel like that'd be a really easy
detail.
modification to make too.
Yeah. So really enjoying these. I'm knitting them with Coast to Coast Classic Sock in the color Button, which I have very much used before, and I'm actually using Stash at this point. So my 2 socks are going to be different dye lots, but I really don't think you can tell.
No.
And especially with the fact that they're going to be on different feet, you're not going to see or notice that, but I really did try to match as closely as I could because I've used Button a lot. I think I had like 5 different little partial
ends.
skeins. And so I just tried to pick the 2 that were the most alike. And I'm actually sad that I'm getting down to the last of the stash, so I'll have to buy some more at some point. But really nice yarn. I really like it. I've used it before. So excited that I was able to join this test knit and that Laura would have me for this little sock project.
We don't have any acquisitions or upcoming other projects at the moment to talk about, so I think that covers everything that we were hoping to share today, but thank you so much if you have made it this far. We really appreciate you joining us as we share all of our knitting things that we've been working on. We would definitely love to hear anything that you've been working on, and especially if you've made any of these patterns and have any good insights for us. We always appreciate all of the feedback and comments.
Thank you so much for joining.